I'm Megan.
I'm Matt.
And you're watching The Night Owl. So happy Friday, everybody.
Here we are.
Yeah,
Friday.
here we are. How was your day today?
It's all right.
It was good. I went to the beach today. It was kind of nice.
Nice.
I feel like it'll be one of the few amounts of fun I'll get at a beach. I mean, I hadn't planned on going to the beach this year, and I really felt like I should, because it would be a great way to escape and just enjoy the day. And I did that today. And yeah, it was really quite a blessing.
Right? Not too hot, not too humid, but it was a perfect day there, right?
Yeah, it was nice. It was the best day. I mean, I've been chock full of things to do for work, so it was really a great time to be able to stop and just kind of like relax and be by the water, and yeah, it was really nice.
And you had to celebrate that with a friend, and yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and they were doing some painting at the lake today. There's a project called Artists of the Wall, and they specifically do this in Rogers Park. So if you've ever been to Rogers Park, or if you ever decide to go, there's a place called Loyola Park, and it's a beachside area, the only beach that is near the only park that's near the beach, near the lake, in Rogers Park. And they have these benches, these cement benches that artists come and paint over the benches, and they pay just a small fee to get like a decent size part of the bench to paint whatever they want, and the money goes back into the park district.
After a year's absence due to the pandemic, the Artist of the Wall Festival is taking shape again at Loyola Beach. It's a nearly 30-year tradition. Dozens of painters add lots of color to a 600-foot-long seawall. Add in some music and kids' activities, and no wonder this Father's Day weekend staple has been going strong for so long. All the art will remain up through next May, when it's whitewashed to make room for a new year of creations.
So that's great. Keeping the neighborhood clean and safe, and I think that's great. So I hope to do that next year, because I missed the deadline. It was like in March or something that they were like announcing that you could sign up to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
at least you got to be aware of the sign up and when for next year. And that they do something like that here. So it's cool. So
I'm Megan.
I'm Matt.
And this is the Night Owl Chicago, an all-inclusive podcast that talks about music, art, and life, and everything in between. So Matt, tell the listeners how we started our podcast.
We started a little over about almost a year and a half ago, maybe not quite that long ago, just as something to do during the quarantine, as a way to kind of share or express our love, particular for the Chicago nightlife and house music, and in particular Queen, at Smartbar. I mean, we love Queen, we love all that inclusivity, we love the house music, we love the pageantry, we love the queens. And then when that kind of got shut down, we thought, oh, what a better way, kind of therapeutic way to talk about it. And then as it progressed, it kind of became a much more therapeutic, as we started to include friends, and it kind of was a way to connect, especially during the quarantine, when you were pretty limited as far as who you could connect with and how close you could be with somebody. So it really became a unique and interesting way to really dig deep and really get to know those that we kind of consider close and our friends, and it kind of blossomed from there. It's just really kind of a way to experience and just get to know really good people out there, as kind of just as a way to share their experience. And then as kind of you all grew, a bit more of an audience, right? We got to share those experiences with you, and then we got to share your experiences with you, and that kind of continues.
That was even better. I mean, doing the videos made us even closer.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of came
to everyone.
That continues today, and here we are. We've only recently started to add the kind of the Friday night live stream here video.
Being able to use the camera now and not have to worry about the quality in which you guys see us, and using Zoom to share certain things if I want to share an article. But it's really been really fun. It's been a wild ride, and hopefully we can get more guests, and we can just keep continuing this, because even with the name Friday Night Live, when we were doing Friday Night Live, it kind of just started to happen, right? And our intro just started to happen, and things just keep getting added on and just become more normal and more easier to kind of create, and like, I don't know, it's just building on top of itself, and it's really quite
Yeah,
fun.
I mean, there's a
Just
lot of
happening
there's
naturally.
avenues out there. There's a lot of opportunity and sharing and unique interest, and we look forward to continue doing this. Even as things start to open up and as kind of the nightlife continues to come back, and we'll probably share some of that too, but I think we'll continue probably in much the same way that we have been going with our format. And really the idea of just kind of continue to share and how to get better and experience, all of that.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. And I mean, Matthew and I just yesterday recorded a reactions video, so I'll be posting that either like this Sunday, coming Sunday, or next week. But we just started doing it. I was like, you know what, it's still really cool. It's a fun thing to do. And who doesn't, love a good laugh and love to be able to be excited about doing reaction videos. They were pretty funny videos.
Yeah.
So I'll link that in the comments when I'll probably link it in the comments when I finish editing it. It's actually done. So I think it's just an extra thing we can do to kind of like fill the YouTube channel and kind of like beef it up a little bit and just try something new.
Yeah, something new, something to share.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So what did you have to talk about today? You could go first, 'cause I think I went first last time.
I thought, you were talking about that you got the experience today at the beach with a friend today. That friend was experienced today as a holiday for herself, as, I'm not sure, probably many people maybe are now aware that, it's a federal holiday, it's a state holiday, Juneteenth. So, all federal employees and people got off today, Friday. It really came pretty swiftly once they decided that, yep, it was happening. And then boom, next thing you know, it's like, all right, everybody, Friday off.
Yeah.
And here we are, it's a state and federal holiday, which is about time. I mean, I think it's only celebrating part of American history. And if a lot of people maybe don't necessarily know what Juneteenth is, June 19th here, what was it, 1865, 1867, somewhere in there, right? They announced to the slaves in Galveston, Texas, that you are free. Although it would take, probably another 6 months or so until the actual 13th Amendment came, in which would ratify and free all slaves. And even then, you can continue to argue that there was still slavery.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, yeah.
But it's part of American history. I think it is something that should be acknowledged. And just, it's American history. It's one of those, I think, continue step forwards. It's American history, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it always, should be, and that's what it should be. So here we are, and I'm glad we are finally acknowledging that, and I'm glad it's a federal holiday. I'm glad it's a state holiday. I'm glad it's recognized, and
it's not just a day to just be off of work or off of school.
No. Hopefully it's a day to learn and acknowledge.
Like Memorial Day. I mean, I can't compare, but like people make a big deal out of that too.
I think with any, honestly, holiday like that, it's a time to reflect and really kind of, it's an opportunity to learn why that day has been presented to us. And I hope that all of us take advantage of understanding, now moving forward, why this day has been presented to us as a federal holiday. So that's one thing that I kind of wanted to throw out there. And
a good way to do that too is like, making art is a good way to do that too. Creating art, expressing yourself in those ways, listening to music, reading, talking with your friends, talking with your parents, talking with people that want to share in that knowledge. I think that's always good to surround yourself with people that are like-minded in that way, or that can teach you something new. I think it's a really great way to be. I'm going to be making art tomorrow. I'm going to be doing a photo shoot. It's going to be amazing. I'm excited. I've been planning it for a few months now. So I will feel my ancestors with me tomorrow. I always feel them all the time when I'm creating art, but I'll definitely be feeling it tomorrow. I'm going to bring my crystals. I'm going to sage, and do all the good stuff to like just not feel sad and think about sad things. But I'm also going to acknowledge that I'm lucky that I'm here and I'm a person of color, and I'm lucky to be where I'm at.
Here we are. I think last time that we were on, you know,
yeah.
our state is fully open as of June
Yeah,
11th.
we're fully open, which is still
You know,
really weird not wearing a mask, but it's,
you know, some places
there
are
now.
still, you know, kind of have a little bit of that mandate or guideline on where they're still requiring or asking, especially those that are not vaccinated, to keep a mask on. But, you know, just like what I was talking about, maybe the inspiration that started this podcast and which eventually led to this video cast here on Friday is the, you know, the one club that we absolutely love and adore, and that's Smartbar. And that was Queen, and now here they are.
Yeah.
It is official. We kind of thought maybe they were gonna, you know, wait.
Maybe it'd be July.
Maybe it was gonna be July. We knew they had plans for some kind of Lala afters, especially when Lollapalooza announced that they were gonna be full blast. But once kind of the state and the city announced that June 11th was gonna be no restrictions, everybody could kind of open at their own kind of
Pace,
at their own
yeah.
pace and whatever they wish to. Smartbar did not kind of look like they're dragging their feet, but then they didn't. Now here they are, and now they're open.
They were like sprinting to the finish
now I think
line.
here they are. It was just kind of like they looked around like, well, everybody else is open.
Yeah, maybe we should do.
Maybe
Yeah,
we should do. So here they are. They're open.
Shout out to Joe Shanahan, by the way. Hello, Joe. We love you, and you know we're definitely happy that you reopened. You got an email, yeah.
No, we were a little late on the tickets, but you know,
I looked
exciting.
at the website. I was like, they're all sold out, and they were such good, you know, DJs. And I mean, there'll be other times. It's just, oh man, because I was telling myself, I'm gonna go the first week. I'm gonna go the first
you know,
week.
I think we kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
And I think since then, even before now, we kind of mentioned really. I think in reality, you know, we saw ourselves probably going weeks, if not several months, honestly, after the initial open,
because we
just to kind of avoid, you know, that. But although, you know, kind of our little birdies have told us that it really is not overcrowded, and that's probably because of the ticketing situation. They really probably are limiting. They also have the vaccine restriction in place. You are supposed to be able to show and prove that you are fully vaccinated.
Not just your ID anymore.
Either with the card or a photo picture of it. They did say that.
Oh, really?
Be,
okay.
Yeah, they did say that would be acceptable.
You did say that you could take a picture.
So some
of
places are willing to take that, especially if they have the kind of the vaccine requirement in place. So that's cool. So that's just kind of my two things, just to kind of say. And
honestly, I'm really happy because I feel like all of our friends that went back, they like Smartbar literally had a hashtag welcome home. So I love that they did that because the bar was acknowledging the residents, and it's the only bar I know of that acknowledges residents, that acknowledges people who go there more than once and maybe go 3 times or 4 times a week, like at the most. And they were acknowledging the people because they realized, hey, you guys are what keeps us open.
I mean,
you guys are. It's a mutual respect and mutual love of the club goers, the music lovers, and the
I mean, talk about here, right? What inspired us to that idea of family and that. I mean, it really is. So.
Yeah. So I love that. You know, if you're watching any of our friends, like we are so happy you guys got to go back. I guess we kind of have to wait maybe a little bit and just keep checking because they're not like showing month to month. They're just showing kind of week to week for now. So yeah, we are really happy that Smartbar, we have come full circle now finally, and it'll be nice to be able to step foot into those doors again. Because remember, before they closed, they had done some like rehabbing and stuff, so it looked nice, and they changed some things around. I mean, not totally, but they changed the back wall by the DJ booth, and they have new lights in there, and so it'll be nice to come back to a familiar place. I'm excited about it. I just know it'll be worth the wait. If we can wait almost a year, we can wait a few more days.
Here we go.
Yeah. Okay, well, my topics are a little weird, macabre, I would say. I have two articles. One I'm going to talk about first, and the second one I'll talk about after, because I told you guys I would still do an LGBTQ story every Friday Night Live until the end of June. I'm probably still going to do them later on in the summer, but since we're celebrating Pride, celebrating trans rights, celebrating BLM, and we just talked about the flag, the Pride Progress flag, including intersex gender, which is amazing. I just thought, why not keep going with these stories? And I think the last one was I also talked about India, with businesses hiring trans employees. So this is from CBS News. Tidal IX is now protecting transgender students.
Girls weight class 95 and boys weight class 106. Please make your way to the awards area.
Too many athletic leagues and policymakers are giving in to an ideology that simply ignores biological reality and denies equal opportunities to women.
Throughout my 4 years of high school, I was forced to compete against biological males. Girls across Connecticut and New England all knew the outcome of our races long before the start, and it was extremely demoralizing.
You know, it's a lot of fear mongering and a lot of attempt to whip up a kind of atmosphere of just kind of frenzied, sort of almost mob mentality to go after this teeny tiny group of kids who certainly pose no threat to anyone whatsoever.
The team aspect of things is like kind of like a family in a sense, and I just really found joy in that, and I really just found who I am as a person like through sports, which is like really cool.
It says the announcement comes amid a difficult year for the LGBTQ plus youth. A recent survey from the Trevor Project, it found that of nearly 35,000 LGBTQ youth between the ages of 13 and 24 who responded to the survey, 70% said that over the past year, their mental health was poor, at least most of the time. 70% of them.
That's with the pandemic and everything, and maybe being
their
home
living
and
situation.
family and living situation, and we know everything has been heightened.
I mean, the domestic abuse is, you know, people like that and those living situations gotten worse. And I mean, everyone's had their own shit show, I guess. But 13 to 24, that's really a very influential time in your life. You're very vulnerable, and you know, you look up to people. You have certain ways of dealing with things, and you're a teenager. I mean, even when you're 24, life's still really shitty. It can be shitty. So it says more than half of transgender or non-binary youth reported they seriously considered taking their own life, the survey found. Trevor Project CEO and Executive Director Amit Paley said in a statement that organization is grateful to the department for actively working to ensure that schools are safe and affirming spaces for transgender youth and non-binary youth. We know that trans-affirming schools can be life-saving, he said. Young people spend most of their time at school, and it's crucial that all students are protected from discrimination and afford the same right. The protections also came during a year in which states have pushed for and passed a surge of bills that seek to limit the rights of transgender youth.
Yes, we've seen a slew of legislation
I
passed.
just can't believe that. I just think it's disgusting. Like, you know, like why? You're not doing it to the other kids. Do they? I don't.
No,
I just,
and that's why
it just-
there continues to need to be more education and
they need to be
shout it
educated.
out. Well,
You know what I
that's
mean?
just it.
Yeah.
They need to be educated.
Yeah.
There
We
needs to
don't-
be more
We
understanding.
don't need to worry about there. We need to worry about educating the old ass dinosaurs. In 2021 legislative session alone, 23 states have considered more than 50 bills targeting transgender youth, according to a list mandated by the National Center of Transgender Equality. The majority of those bills, according to the center, limit either the healthcare transgender youth can receive, or limit the healthcare transgender youth can receive, or limit their ability to participate in school sports. The announcement signals the Biden administration's effort to reverse the myriad policies targeting transgender individuals that were implemented under, you guessed it, DT. I'm not saying, don't say his name, DT.
Or the toad that was Secretary of Education
Cheeto Man.
At the time.
Yes. In 2017, for example, the administration reversed policies that required public schools to allow transgender students to use the bathroom that correctly responds with their gender. Remember that?
Yeah.
Acting Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights, Suzanne B. Goldberg, said in a statement that the department wants to provide schools with support so that all students can get adequate resources and the tools they need to succeed, regardless of their gender identity or sexual orientation. Well, what? Wow, that sounds like a great idea. Like,
there you go.
Again, like, it shouldn't matter what gender you are and who you like. You're going to school to learn. Like, it's invasion of privacy. It's invasion of wanting to dig into someone's life and judging them based on something they cannot change. You know, it just boggles my mind that the government has tried to do that, to like limit these things, these simple rights, simple things that people need because of who. It's just, I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, it is more understanding. I just don't know.
And it's hard to meet those people with hate. You have to meet them with like wanting to educate them and saying, hey, this isn't right. What you're doing isn't right. And not going about it with hate or fear or, pushback, because nothing gets done. So this is a great way for schools to start doing this and start learning that, hey, everyone should be able to feel safe in school. They're there every day. Kids are probably at school a majority of their lives, at least until they're 18. Than they are at home, right? And the quarantine was hard for them. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was terrible. So it says equity in education means all students have access to schools that allow them to learn and thrive in all aspects of their educational experiences, Goldberg said. As part of our mission to protect all students' civil rights, it is essential that the OCR acts to eliminate discrimination that targets LGBTQ plus students. I think we're moving forward. I think it's one of those steps that we're taking to make changes. It just still baffles me that that happened back in 2017. I was just like, this has to be the worst thing Trump has ever done. Besides, I said his name. Damn it. This is the worst thing that he's ever done. It's not the worst, but it's definitely up there. He did some
It was up there.
It was up there. I mean,
take a number.
Take a number. All right, this one's the macabre one. And it's I would say I'd put this in the in-between part of our podcast. The last one I talked about was about life. This one is specifically from The Guardian. This is something that I've actually been thinking about for a while because I'm a murderino. I love my criminal shows. I love my murder mysteries, stuff like that. I like when we watched that show Mindhunter. That was really cool.
Yeah, it was really well done.
Kind of learning about like the mind of a serial killer and a mind of a murderer. I mean, murderers are different than serial killers. Some people kill out of emotion. Some people kill and they don't mean it. Some people kill in self-defense. And then there's people that are serial killers and they have a totally different mind and MO and profile than most people do. But since the 70s, it started to decline. We started to decline in numbers with how many known serial killers, including the ones that were caught, it started to decline. We started getting less and less, mostly because people were now locking their doors and not getting into cars with strangers and not leaving their kids home. The 70s and 80s were fucked up. Okay, let's just say that. It was fucked up. It brought a lot of that kind of stuff.
I think they believe, right, the heyday of serial killers.
Yeah, I mean, it was the time for serial killers was, and most people couldn't get caught back then. So the numbers have been declining. And so I kind of got curious and I was like, you know what? I feel like there's not as many serial killers as there used to be. So I Googled it found this article and we're going to read it together. So this says, our American serial killers are dying breed. Cases such as the alleged Golden State Killer hit the headlines, but a database tracking multiple murderers over more than a century shows a clear downward trend from the 1989 peak. It says when John Joseph D'Angelo was pushed into a courtroom wearing an orange jumpsuit, handcuffed to a wheelchair earlier this year, the former California cop was finally called to account for a murder spree he allegedly began in the 1970s. Dun, dun, dun. He was an old man too. He wasn't that old, but he was definitely old enough. A Vietnam veteran, he apparently already began to kill by the time he was thrown out of the police force in the 1970s. A cop who kills. A cop who kills. But for decades, justice did not catch up with D'Angelo until advances in technology finally did. That's why it changed, because we didn't have forensic science until like the 90s. You know, the 90s, late 90s was when they were like, oh, DNA, fingerprints, blood. Let's figure this out. Before it was like, we don't know how they died. We're just gonna have to talk to people and do psychology
they had
stuff.
evidence, they would look at it. They just didn't have quite the technology.
They went more with motive back then. You know, motive and alibis and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, more eyewitness type stuff.
You had to rely on it.
Yeah, and as we now know, that's not the most reliable.
Sometimes even evidence isn't. Sometimes you need more than just solid evidence. It's kind of, it's a lot. This is 3 years ago, just so you know. He's already in jail. This is a really old article. So it says he was due to stand trial for 13 counts of murder after biological data held by a genealogy website led investigations to the door of the man they say is a Golden State Killer. I think it was like his great grandson or great nephew, or like, I don't know how they found him, but I know it was through like,
it's familial.
Yeah, it was like, you know, my ancestry or something like that, and they ended up finding him because I think like someone in his family committed a crime. I don't know what it was. I just remember that's how they found him. So the 72-year-old man was arrested after investigators created a fake profile on a popular genealogy website called GED Match and uploaded genetic data from a well-preserved crime scene DNA sample. The website led them to several distant relatives of the suspect. Retired attorney Barbara Ray Ventor, an expert in genetic genealogy, helped build a family tree and from genetic data, a profile of a balding, blue-eyed suspect. Her efforts led investigators to D'Angelo, living in retirement in California. If D'Angelo's long-awaited appearance in court suggests a reckoning is coming for the serial killers, a long-term trend indicates that such mass killers and their impact might already be in decline in America's society. Author Peter Vronsky, who has just published a new history of serial killers, said in a Guardian interview last month, it appears that we're arresting and apprehending less serial killers, and when we do apprehend them, they have a much smaller victim list per killer. So yes, there seems to be a decline in American serial killing. Either there are less serial killers or we've gotten better at catching them earlier. Dun, dun, dun. The best database of serial killers was developed by Mike Ammett, emeritus professor at Radford University in Virginia. He agrees that there's been a clear downward trend, but urges caution. So pay attention, guys. Mm-hmm. There's no question that there's been a decline since the 1980s in the number of identifiable serial killers. But I'm careful to say that there's been a decline in the number of serial killers we can identify. There could be thousands of serial killers that we don't know about. And for some reason, we're not identifying today as well as we did in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Okay,
plausible.
So it hasn't really changed that much
they've
then.
Just gotten better.
Maybe their MOs are different. I mean, Israel Keyes was one of my favorite because he would just travel and kill people and then travel back. And he had safe houses everywhere, you know? Like, I mean, I'm not saying what he did was great, but like he was pretty smart and then he got sloppy because he was a Capricorn.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, we talked about that. Talk about that.
All we know for sure is that there's been a decline in the number identified. So the Radford database, maintained in collaboration with Florida Gulf State University, has identified 5,000 serial killers from 1900 to today. Taking that definition of serial murder as the unlawful killing of 2 or more victims by the same offender in separate events. The data shows that 1989 was a peak year in the United States, with 193 separate serial killers operating, 193 in the United States. By the end of the 20th century, that had dropped to 107, and in the current decade, an average of 43 serial killers per year have been identified in the US. That's not a lot. Some studies suggested that the surge in serial killing was a phenomenon of urban living, the society of strangers. Thesis, where cities provided both anonymity and opportunity as people were brought closer together.
Don't we still have that?
Stab. Amat says that reasons for the apparent decline in serial killing could include advances in forensic technology, tighter use of parole, and more widespread caution in the way people live, and also arresting people and leaving them in jail. Some of those people get out. They only go to jail for like a month or 3 months, and then they're like, that's
out.
One of the big reasons for the decline is the change in parole. Not quite 20% of our serial killers were people who had killed, gone to prison, and had been released and killed again. With the longer prison sentences and the reduction in parole, those folks are not going to be back on the streets to kill again. The second factor is that people change their behavior. So go back and think about the 70s. We would hitchhike. We would let kids walk to the store, let them go play. If there was a stranded motorist, you'd go help them, right?
Yeah.
Helter skelter, let's just say that. We don't do those things anymore. What we can call free range behaviors are on the decline. Oh, free range behaviors. I never thought of that. Free range behaviors. And it's more difficult for serial killers to find victims as it had been in the 70s and 80s. And lots of drugs, you guys. Lots of drugs. People were out of their minds. The Radford FGCU database debunks serial killer stereotype of intellectual genius, always outwitting law enforcement. There's a cluster of killers with the average low intelligence. And although perception is that most serial killers are white men, data from the past 3 decades show that they've been overtaken by Black serial killers, a trend which appears to be partly driven by a higher proportion of a so-called organizational serial killers who commit murder as part of a gang or criminal operation. Okay, so it's not like one single guy, it's like several. So retired FBI agent and profiler Mary Ellen O'Toole, who worked on some of the most infamous serial killer cases in U.S. history, said that another factor was a proliferation of security cameras. There are so many more cameras out there now that law enforcement is able to go back and look at. Cell phone location data has also made it easier to locate suspects. O'Toole is now the director of George Mason University's Forensic Science program, guiding to the next generation of experts who can increasingly come from fields of chemistry and biology. Oh, and also he says, like, sometimes we, like what you say, we always try to think we see a serial killer, like we know what they'll look like. Just by looking at someone, we'll be like, oh yeah, that person's totally a serial killer or a murderer.
No.
But they could be anyone, right?
Yeah, they could be anyone.
I mean, look at Ted Bundy. Like, he didn't look like...
They could be anyone.
Yeah. So I'm going to include that link in the comments so you guys can read the rest of the article. But I thought it was really interesting. I feel like after reading it, I kind of do already know some of that stuff. But it's kind of interesting to see that it's been in the decline like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably good. I mean, hopefully it did freak me out a little bit when he was like, oh yeah, there's thousands. Like, we just don't know. It's like,
Spooky.
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. I don't want to know. Yeah. So we want you guys to know that we love you. We hope you enjoy your summer, and stay tuned for our recording this weekend. We're going to do an audio recording tomorrow, so that'll be up on our Anchor podcast. So we want to tell you that we love you, and we want you to stay safe, stay happy, and yeah, go have fun.
Have fun.
I'm Megan.
I'm Matt.
And you're watching
The Night Owl.